Rickie, this is going to be a fun one. How you doing?
I am well. I'm the maniac that flew home to Florida yesterday at 6 o'clock in the morning. Actually drove by the team hotel. I went to the Angels Blue Jays game in Dunedin last night because I was curious to see what a real major league game in a single A ballpark would look like, and got back on an airplane this morning. I'm at Yankee Stadium, ready to do the game at a stadium where I drove by about 14 hours ago. So, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right in the year 2021. Actually, that makes a lot of sense to all of us. And yeah, it's going to be interesting because, some of the players were asked about it yesterday when it's against the Rays. It's, there's just a lot of bad blood. We just went through it there over the last couple of years, and it was kind of an exclamation point at the end of last season. What do you think is going to be the feel, the atmosphere for this one?
Well, let's start with the atmosphere in the Tampa Bay area. I was there just a few hours ago. They're going to raise their banner, the flag, the pennant for, winning the American League. They're going to do it, they're going to, do it right in the Yankees' face. They're going to rub their nose in it a little bit. And that's the feel of the fan base that you watch on local television down there. What better team to start our season with and raise the American League Championship banner with the Yankees in-house. So they're going to have a little bit of fun with that. I don't know how much of last year's interactions will still hang over to this year. If Aroldis Chapman gets in the game late and it's Mike Brasso at the plate, then we'll see. But I think maybe we start from scratch a little bit. These two teams did not get a chance to face each other in spring training because they divided the state of Florida into thirds. So the Yankees and Rays didn't see each other. They usually see each other in spring several times. So, maybe if there were any lingering ill feelings, they may have been or come to the surface during spring. So we'll see if there's anything left, which I doubt. But maybe after their ceremonies this afternoon, when they raise the pennant here, maybe that gets under the Yankees' skin a little bit. But I really don't think there'll be much left over from last year.
Rickie, a number of good talking points with the Yankees, some good, some bad. Yep. Let's start, where's the concern, or where are we here with Aaron Judge dealing with the general side soreness?
It concerns me because it's the oblique, that he injured previously. And you could tell he was uncomfortable. There was that one play where he was charging toward the line on a foul ball where he didn't make an the Aaron Judge will 9 out of 10 times would make an all-out dive for that ball. And there were a couple of swings and misses that he looked a little bit uncomfortable with. And having watched Fernando Tatis Jr. hurt himself on a big swing, you kind of, it's in your head a little bit. So you kind of take a glance. And when you watched back at the game, I watched the replay when I got home that night and watched, some of the camera up close of Aaron on a couple of swings. His body language and the look on his face, showed some discomfort. If that's my biggest concern right now with the team. It's Gleyber Torres' defense and how far into his head, this whole thing is getting to him because he's not hitting either. It's Judge staying healthy. And I guess if you're ranking them 1, 2, 3 on concerns right now, after that, it's Gary Sanchez again, lollygagging a bit, running to second base, almost getting thrown out at second by the right fielder Santander, and then, running a double into a single basically on that line drive to Mountcastle in left field. So to rank concerns, Judge number 1, and we'll see. I'm still waiting to see if the starting lineup, as of airtime, I don't have it yet. We'll see if Judge is in the starting lineup today. That'll make me feel a little bit better. But after that, then Gleyber Torres and some of the same things that we've seen from Gary Sanchez in the past are starting to surface again.
Hey, Rickie, we want to get into Gleyber and to Gary for sure, but just one other one on Judge. I appreciate that Aaron Boone defends his players no matter what, and I would expect nothing less from the manager. But when he said that, it's the general wear and tear of 5 games into the season, what is that?
No. That's I'm not buying that one. Wear and tear. Talk to me about Memorial Day, maybe a month into the season. Then maybe I'll believe the wear and tear. Look, it's Aaron Boone trying trying to defend his players. And he had a day off, I believe, at some point in these first couple of series. So, look, Aaron Judge, the issue with him and his next mega contract, which everyone hopes will be in the New York Yankee uniform, but your best ability is your availability in sports. And Aaron Judge has not proven over these few years that he's been in the major leagues that he can stay healthy and available for at least a good run of 125, 130, 140 games. We just haven't seen it consistently.
Rickie, defensively, Gleyber at shortstop, massive issue. We've seen it affecting his offense up at the plate. I ask your concern level for Judge here. How about within the Yankee brain trust, if you had to speculate? How alarmed are they by what they've seen from Gleyber defensively at short here, first two series?
Moose, it's got to be concerning because he doesn't hide his feelings. You can tell, the look on his face the other night after that throw that Jay Bruce couldn't handle. And then you see him, he wears his emotions on his sleeve. You see him when he gets to the plate, he's trying to overcompensate at the plate for what he hasn't been able to do out on the field. And, that's a recipe for disaster with a big time athlete like that, especially he's still the youngest guy on the team. Let's remember that, he's not a grizzled veteran. He's still only 24 years old. So he's still molding his career, but to have as much early success as Gleyber did, and to be heralded the way he was by so many people around baseball, the fan base, talk radio. I mean, we put Gleyber on a very high level, on a pedestal, ever since he came up. And here were the Orioles for these last three games, of which he's hit 16 home runs against, and everybody's waiting for the magic Gleyber against the Orioles bat to show up, and it didn't. And you could tell by the look on his face, he had not just that one play late in the game in the loss, but he had a couple of difficult plays in the field against the Orioles, and going even back to the Rays series that opened this season. You can tell there is a level of discomfort with Gleyber on the field. And the funny thing is, I didn't see that in Tampa. During spring training, it was, flowing free and easy, playing very good defense, had a smile on his face. But here in these first 6 games, that bugaboo has jumped up and bitten him again here on a couple of occasions. And I would imagine that, that Yankee brass has to be worried. Maybe they had a sigh of relief from what they saw in Tampa all through spring training, but here it comes again.
Rickie Ricardo is our guest. Love talking to Rickie, as we will weekly throughout the season. Okay, I'm going to ask you to speculate a little bit, but
All right.
Let's play this out and say that Gleyber continues to struggle at short. How do you think he would react if the Yankees moved him to second and shuffled the infield around?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to get into his head a little bit. He is not as Carson Wentz-ish as Gary Sanchez is. Okay,
way to cross over, Rickie.
I think he's a little bit. There's a little, more of a shield to Gleyber than maybe to Gary, who's maybe a little thin-skinned as far as when he reads criticism about him or hears boos. I think Gleyber can handle it a little bit better, but not much better. I think Gleyber's another guy that maybe not to the extent of Gary, but another guy who, criticism and maybe a quote-unquote demotion like that would affect him in a negative way. Now, look, he's a professional. He's, got a budding career in front of him, so he's got to snap out of it if it would. And you asked me to speculate. These are guys that had a lot of early success, and now after succeeding and life was golden and all, everything was, roses, coming up roses, now they're having some difficulties. It's the ups and downs of a baseball career, and it's a learning curve, and it's a process. But my question would be, Maggie, where do you do that? I mean, where do you put Gleyber? Where do you then put LeMahieu? If Luke Voigt is back, where does he play? Is Gio Urshela going to be, your shortstop if you move Gleyber out of the shortstop position? There's really nobody at AAA that's going to jump up and fill the shortstop hole and play some solid defense. So, they're kind of stuck with Gleyber at shortstop when you think about it. there's really nowhere that else he can go in the infield that wouldn't completely throw off everything that they had planned going into this season. So, a lot of extra work. I think Carlos Mendoza, who is also Venezuelan, who relates very well to Gleyber, who worked extensively with Gleyber in the offseason, on these very things of the nuances of defense. Mendoza is fantastic when it comes to everything having to be an infielder. And they relate, being both Venezuelan. I think they're going to have to just put in a lot of extra work, and he's going to have to snap out of it because there's really no other solution.
Ricky, explain to everybody the lack of hustle for Sanchez.
I don't.
How does he, and he's hitting the baseball, which is great. How is he not busting it up the first baseline?
Moose, I don't get it. I really don't. As much work as he put into the offseason to get into camp in good shape, he looks great. He played some winter ball down in the Dominican, has a couple of home runs. Oh, look, he's got the strikeouts. As good as he looks in one particular at-bat, it's just as bad as he looks in his next at-bat. He is really hot and cold, but I'm talking hot and cold within the same game. It's not week to week. It's not day to day, week to week, and month to month. He's hot and cold inning to inning sometimes. It's within the game. And you can tell, like, when he got to second base, and beat the throw by a half step the other night, you watch the close-up of him there, and he knew it. He said, whoa, I got away with one here. That should have been the wake-up call for the next at-bat when he had that, the liner into left field. He should have been on second base. Now, obviously, he got bailed out because Tauchman was able to score on that play at the plate. But can you imagine if the Yanks would have lost that game, or if somehow you could have tied it back to non-hustle from Gary Sanchez, then we'd be talking about it. The fans would be upset. The writers would be writing about it. That would trickle down to him. And 1 week into the season, here we go. We'd have a full-fledged Gary Sanchez controversy again. And I think that would weigh on him as it has in years past.
Yeah, how could it not? Rickie Ricardo is our guest. He's going to join us throughout the season. We're so excited about that. Thrilled, really. Gleyber on the mound tonight will get his second start, Ricky. He had 4 innings of work plus a batter. And that plus a batter was memorable because it was a home run to Marcus Semien against the Toronto Blue Jays. What do you expect from Gleyber tonight in terms of workload?
I think his pitch count will get up into the mid-90s, close to 100, maybe somewhere between 90 and 100 pitches. Now, the Rays work counts. That's one of the traits of the Tampa Bay Rays offensive attack. Looking at the Rays lineup that Kevin Cash has put out today, these guys are going to work the count. This is a new Corey Gleyber, and it's a new work in process. As I think we talked about it before. Maggie, you weren't here last week, but Corey Gleyber is reinventing himself like many successful pitchers have over the years that have come off serious injuries. Mm-hmm. That 95, 96 mile an hour fastball isn't there anymore. He was averaging 89, 90, 90. I think he may have hit 92 once that I can remember in that start against the Toronto Blue Jays. So, he is reshaping his own career. He's remaking himself. I mentioned guys like Frank Tanana in years past as a guy that comes to mind that have been flamethrowers, that have been able to rear back and get a little extra to get a strikeout when needed. Gleyber doesn't have that anymore. At least he hasn't shown it up to now. Maybe as the season goes along, that velocity gets higher. But at this point in the season, right now, he is really trying to get you moving around up and down using, the 4 quadrants of the plate. I think they'll stretch him out as much as they can today. But these Rays, they know how to work the count. They're very intelligent when they're at the plate. And if he can get through 5, and with Justin Wilson being activated today, the Yankees, have an extra lefty in the bullpen. I don't think Aaron Boone will hesitate. If Gleyber gives him 5 good innings, then, he'll go right to the bullpen. He's got plenty of arms. Day of rest yesterday, so everybody's fresh and ready to go.
Yeah, and Ricky, that leads to my final question. That is the bullpen here. Without Britton to begin the year, you mentioned Wilson, getting him back today. Bullpen has been really, really good to begin the season for Boone.
Oh, it has. It has really been good. And I tell you what, although there were a couple of pitches that got by Kyle Higashioka, but Aroldis Chapman hitting 102 miles an hour this early in the season. Look, I've tracked Chapman's progress these past few years. He, early in April, will be in the upper 90s. But for him to be throwing this hard this early, and that experimental split finger pitch that he's throwing along with the slider, I tell you what, if he gets a little bit of command of these three pitches, Aroldis Chapman might have reinvented himself in a way that may really put the American League hitters back into a real defensive position against him. Everyone else has been good out of that pen, even the Nick Nelsons. We saw what Michael King, who was sent down because of the numbers game with Odor coming on board on the 40-man roster, all the kind of roster moves that they have to make. But everyone has contributed out of that bullpen. It is a strength early, and it'll be key for Aaron Boone not to burn these guys out. And hopefully some of these starters can, over the course of the next few weeks and months, start giving him a little bit of length. So by the time we get to August and September, that these relievers who look so good now aren't worn out.
Rickie, appreciate it. Have fun with the game tonight, or today, excuse me,
Yes.
afternoon game.
3 o'clock.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Yankees, Rays, never a dull moment when these two teams meet. So we're looking forward to your call, and we'll talk to you next week.
It'll be interesting because they've had to redo the entire Tropicana field. Vince McMahon and the WWE have been here. They've owned the building for the last 4 months. It's almost like when the circus, both of you remember when the circus would be at the Garden and the Knicks would try to play, the trapezes were still over the court.
Yeah, right.
So the WWE literally was living here up until 2 days ago. So they've had to transform Tropicana Field. So hopefully everything is right and ready for opening day.
Well, Rickie, have a good call. You got WrestleMania this weekend.
I was going to say,
That's
all
right.
of a sudden, if Stanton isn't available, maybe The Rock can just come in and maybe DH for the Yankees. They basically
Thank you, Rickie.
the same body.
Anytime.
Thank you so much, Rickie.